Today we're here at the Jordan Estate with John Jordan, who is the owner as well as CEO. And John, I have to say, thank you so much for bringing us out here. We've had a total blast the past couple of days. I hope your lawns are the same because we've also torn them up with ATV. You have a lot of amazing toys here.
Yes, we do, and we have a lot of fun playing with them, too.
So I see. I think the most amazing one is the Gulfstream that you flew us out on here from New York. You're a licensed pilot.
Yes, that's what the FAA tells me. Yes, I did.
So what got you into flying?
I was 17 years old. I just got tired of building model airplanes, and girls wouldn't pay attention to me, so I decided to learn to fly.
So you got the pilot's license.
Yeah,
well, that's definitely a chick magnet.
Hey, well, you know, it's a single guy. You gotta have a shtick.
Well, that's a good shtick to have. If you will indulge us, we're here at your family's winery, which has been around for over 4 decades, and we thought it would be fun for us to do a little quiz, because I heard through the grapevine that you are an absolute master at pop culture, and especially movies.
Well, that's true, and I was raised by television, and now I feel like I owe it back.
You owe it back to television. I'm sure that your mom and your dad would be very proud to hear. So I'm going to give you a quote, and then you're going to guess the movie. Are you game?
Of course.
Awesome. Okay, so for the 1970s, this film has this quote. You do have your moments. Not many, but you do have them.
Easy. Star Wars, 1977, released May 25th. Incidentally, my birthday, uttered by Carrie Fisher when she was a little healthier looking.
Yeah, I mean, that was 4 decades ago. That's really awesome. Can you tell us, like, 1970s was a really big year, big decade here for Jordan. What were like the 2 big moments, do you think?
Well, obviously the Jordan Winery was founded in the early 1970s, and the very first dinners and entertaining that happened here at the winery, for the most part, happened with people wearing leisure suits.
Leisure suits.
There's a lot of pictures of people in leisure suits in the 70s walking around the grounds.
You know, people don't rock the good leisure suit nowadays.
No, they don't, but I suspect a lot of people still have them in their closet. I mean, the 1970s was big. That was the founding of Jordan. That was the run-up to our first release. 1979 was the year before our Cabernet hit the market.
Did you guys launch your first vintage in the 70s, or how long did it take for you?
The first Cabernet was harvested in 1976, but the first Jordan wine entered the market and was served to customers for the very first time in 1980.
Ooh. So 1980s, that kind of brings us to this other new decade, which by the way, has probably some of the best films in all of history. So we picked one that I'm hoping you'll know. Okay, so this quote is, last night at the dance, my brother paid $1 to see your underwear.
16 candles, and the recipient of those immortal words was Molly Ringwald. And that was right after she talked to Anthony Michael Hall, who was also Rusty in the original Vacation.
Very, very cool. Yep, we haven't stumped you yet. So the 1980s, what were the 2 big events that happened here at Jordan during that decade?
In terms of hospitality, which we take very seriously as a company, what I probably remember most, but probably was not significant in terms of the winery history, was my mom's famous mid-80s Great Gatsby party that she had. I just remember all of the adults and all the preparations running around for that, and how excited my mom was for that. So that was kind of probably my introduction into party throwing. So now we continue that tradition every Halloween with our Jordan Halloween party, which is a different theme every year. The 1980s was really the decade when Jordan came into its own as a brand, and it was also really when Sonoma County started to come into its own as a wine growing region.
So the 1990s, this I have to say is one of my absolute favorite movies, so I hope that you know the quote. Who's Zed? Zed's dead.
Whose chopper is that? It's not a chopper, baby. It's a motorcycle. It's not a motorcycle, it's a chopper, baby. Well, those words were uttered by Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction when he was explaining to us the sad demise of Zed and the true difference between a motorcycle and a chopper, which we all know now. And this is probably about 5 years after he straightened out that unfortunate business in Nakatomi Plaza in Die Hard.
Okay, this is like a little scary, all your movie knowledge. So 90s, what were the 90s like for Jordan?
Well, the 90s was the period where my parents ceased day-to-day management of the company and stepped back for several different reasons. And the winery was managed by the CFO at the time, not our current CFO. And it was a time when the brand was mature and we were doing well, and obviously the economy for the bulk of the 90s was very robust, and Jordan did very well. But it was a time, it was kind of the quiet before the storm, before we got to really have the opportunity to take Jordan to the next level.
So then I guess that brings us into the 2000s, which I heard is when you took over the winery.
It was in the mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s, okay. So the big movie that we have for the 2000s, I played the jazz flute.
Oh, Will Ferrell, the anchor man. And he played the jazz flute. Well, he did, to use a Yoda aphorism.
So the 2000s, you came in, you took over the family business. What was that like?
Well, it was a little different because the winery, again, it was a mature brand, relatively stable, but there's also part of me that knew deep down that the Jordan Winery needed to adapt to the 21st century. You cannot just be a status quo company that in many respects just rests on your laurels. And so the challenge for me was to adapt to the culture of the winery, not only from the winemaking point of view, but also from the hospitality and communications point of view, to the far harsher competitive reality of the 21st century, when there was over 3,000 bonded wineries in California, when there was maybe 300 when my parents started, notwithstanding worthy competition from Argentina, Australia, South Africa, as well as other regions, winemaking regions in America. So Jordan kind of had to step up its game if we wanted to continue to do well.
So what was the first big initiative that you did when you took over as CEO?
Well, the first thing I did was meet with Rob Davis, our one and only winemaker since the very beginning, and have a discussion, a thorough and very forthright discussion with him about what Jordan could be doing to improve the quality of our product, to really step up our game from that point of view. So what we did was we really looked at our fruit sourcing, and we really looked at which vineyard blocks were really able to deliver the flavors that Rob really wanted, so we could do an even better job of executing on my parents' original vision, which is wines that are predicated on balance, not being over-extracted, not being too hot or having too much alcohol, but to make the very best wine we could in that Bordeaux tradition.
Well, I can tell you, we've been drinking your wine for the past 2.5 days, and it's incredible. The 2012 and 2010 vintages in the Cabernet have been some of the best that I've had here, both in California and also around the world.
Well, thank you, and I'm equally impressed that you've been able to drink for 2.5 days and still be able to do this.
Yeah, this one's a little rough. We just had this amazing lunch here at your chateau as well. But you guys have balanced it out nicely for the food and wine for us. So you've built this amazing team of people, and we've had a really great time getting to know everyone, from Brent, your ranch manager, to Drew, who's been giving us social media tips and all these other great background on the company. What's next for you guys?
Well, Jordan, I mean, we like to say at Jordan we do three things: Cabernet, Chardonnay, and hospitality. And we take a lot of pride in our visitor experience here, especially since it's limited to 12 guests per tour or tasting. We do not want to become Disneyland or one of those belly up to the wine bar type experiences, so it pays to make reservations early. With regard to what we're going to do going forward, it's probably going to have more to do with the hospitality part of the company rather than the winemaking part of the company. So we look forward to coming up with some creative destination or hospitality experience, which hopefully may be very special and unique in Sonoma County.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I know you guys have a lot of toys personally. We were able to use a lot of them here during our stay, so I could see this definitely being a place where people would want to come and want to stay. So you've done an amazing job bringing Jordan into the 21st century. When people are looking back at your time as CEO of the vineyard and the estate, what do you want them to remember? What's your legacy?
I would like Jordan to be known as as a touch point between the 19th and 21st centuries, where old world hospitality was successfully adapted to the 2000s, to the 21st century. That you could preserve those traditions of Europe, those timeless traditions, which is really what made the wine industry throughout the world great. And that it could happen in the 21st century in a temporally appropriate way.
Well, you're well on your way there, and we're so grateful, and we had an amazing time here. You built something incredibly special. So
Well,
thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.